we are in section 4.4. We're working on graphing the cosine today. Let's take a look at number 57. The first thing that we need to do is we need to find our 5 bits of information. Amplitude, period, your horizontal shift, your vertical shift, and is it reflected? The amplitude is always the number in front of the cosine. We'll call that 3. Our period for the cosine is 2 pi divided by the number in here, and we'll call that 1 if there's nothing there. Our horizontal shift is the one that we move back and forth. In this case, we are going to be moving it pi to the left. And our vertical shift is our up and down shift, and we're going to shift it 3 down because of the negative. Reflected would be if this number in front here is negative. In this case, it is not, so we'll say no. If we're going to graph this, then we are going to have to grab a line. And since our period is 2 pi, I'm going to make the number out here, well, we're going to shift to the left, so I have to have some part go off to the left here. And we'll say this is negative pi. If we're pi to the left, this is negative pi. And since our period is 2 pi, 1 pi, 2 pi would be the end of our graph. So let's find some half-C's. Halfway in between here is negative pi over 2. Halfway in here is positive pi over 2. This middle is 0, so we have our 5 points. We know since we have a vertical shift down of 3 that we're going to have a dotted line in here at our negative 3. Our amplitude is then 3 from there. So we're going to be going up 3 and down 3 from that dotted line. So the lowest point will be at negative 3. The highest point will be at 0. So let's take a look at how that's going to look. We're going to start up here, and we're going to end up here. Our lowest point is going to be down here. And we're going to be going through the dotted line at negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. So our graph is going to look a lot like that. Of course, it's going to continue to bob up and down as we go, but we're just graphing one period. Question 58. It says y equals 4 cosine of x plus pi over 4 plus 4. In standard form, we would put this plus 4 in front here. So let me just put the 4 plus in front. So it looks like standard form. And then let's get our 5 bits of information. Amplitude, period, horizontal shift, vertical shift, and is it reflected? Our amplitude here is 4. Our period is going to be 2 pi divided by whatever's in here. If there's nothing in there, we'll call it 1. Horizontal shift is our side to side, and it looks like we're going to be moving pi over 4 to the left. Our vertical shift is positive 4, and we are not reflecting. So if I'm going to graph this, since we have a pi over 4 to the left, my starting point here is going to be negative pi over 4. And since our period is 2 pi, it's going to end somewhere out here at 2 pi minus pi over 4, right? Because pi over 4 is moved over here, so we will end pi over 4 before 2 pi. And if I look at that, simplify my fraction, I get 7 pi over 4. We know we need to do some half-c's, so -1 plus 7 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my middle is going to be 3 pi over 4. Half-c's again, -1 plus 3 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I'm going to be at 1 pi over 4. And half-c's in here, 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5, so I'm at 5 pi over 4. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. We know that we are going to be having a vertical shift at 4, so I'm going to put a dotted line in here at 4. So if I call this 4 right there, and we know that since we have an amplitude of 4, we're going to be going up to 8 and down to 0. Notice that I'm labeling all the amplitude numbers, top amplitude, bottom amplitude. They all get labeled on here. So let's graph our 5 points. We know because it's a cosine and it's positive, we're going to be at our highest point here, lowest point at the third point, going through our dotted line at the second and fourth. So our graph is going to look like that. All right, let's try one more. 59. 59 says y equals 2/3 the cosine of x over 2 minus pi over 4. Now this one is not given to us in standard form. Notice that the x is not by itself, so we need to put it in standard form. So I'm going to bring out 1/2, leaving me with x. Then I have to do pi over 4 divided by 1/2. That's pi over 4 times 2 over 1, multiplying by the reciprocal, and I get minus pi over 2. So now, let's get our 5 bits of information. Amplitude is 2/3. My period is 2 pi divided by 1/2, which would give me 4 pi. My vertical shift is 0. My horizontal shift is pi over 2 right. And again, my reflection is no. Let's see if we can graph this. And we're shifting to the right. All right. So the start of our graph is going to be at pi over 2. So I'm going to put pi over 2, and that's where this is going to start. And if my period is 4 pi, my end of my graph over here will be at 4 pi plus pi over 2. If I do a little math, I get 9 pi over 2. Okay, so if I want to find my half-c's to get the rest of my points, 1/2 plus 9/2 gives me 10/2. 10/2 divided by 2 is 5/2 pi. Halfway between 1 and 5 would be 3 pi over 2. Halfway between 5 and 9 would be 7 pi over 2. So there's our 5 points. We don't have a vertical shift, so our dotted line is this x-axis. My amplitude is 2/3, so I know that I'm going to go up 2/3, so I'm going to put my top of my amplitude. Bottom is going to be -2/3. Make sure those are labeled points. We know that our 5 points We'll be at the top there. We'll be at the top there. We'll be at the bottom at the third point. We'll be going through the x-axis at the second and fourth points. So our graph will look like that. Thank you and good luck.